Dear students, in the hospital management, we are going to see the next topic as selection in the unit number 2. The selection process starts and applications are reviewed and screened in the human resource department. Usually, uh, in a hospital, we are recruiting for the various job positions. For various job positions, we'll be giving the advertisement through a newspaper or through any social media. From the social media, from the call for applications, we will be called for these candidates, and for the candidates, we'll be giving the job application form. Okay. So the selection process starts when resume screen in the human resource department. The human resource manager goes through the applications to identify the potential candidates for the interview. So the HR is responsible. The HR will be preparing the job application form to identify the potential candidates. So the job application form is one of the most important tools in the selection process. When drafted properly, it can be supply enough information about the candidate. So this job application form, we have to know the applicant's name, father's name, present and permanent address, sex, age, religion, weight, height, physical deformity, if any, education qualification, experience, and participation in extracurricular activities. While preparing the job application form, the following points should be kept in mind. So the form should be large enough to provide enough space for writing the desired information. So the application form should be printed on this good paper. So we are going to maintain this application form for throughout the years. So we need to maintain the application form in a good printed paper. The wording used on the form should not be unclear, it should be a clear one. So items included in the form should be designed to extract only the required information. It is desirable to include some questions about the previous employers of the candidate to find out the stability of the work. So we can have this experience column. So in this experience column, they can find how much from which time to which time they have been worked. At the end of the form, there should be a place for his signature. The signature should follow the two statement. One is, I have no objection if any inquiries made from my past or present employer, and I hereby certify that all the information given me in the form is correct and complete to best of my knowledge and belief. So these two statements should be printed at the end of this form. A job application is served for the three main purposes. One is it enables the hospital authorities to weed out the unsuitable candidates. From this job application form, we can screen the candidate. So we can remove the candidate. We can neglect the candidate, or we can reduce the candidate, or we can remove the candidate from the list if they are unfit for the job based on the information provided on this job application. It acts as a frame of a reference for the interview. It acts as a frame of reference for the interview. So at the HR and the other interview persons may be refer the job application from reference about the candidate. It forms the basis for the personal record for the successful candidates. So once during the job application form, we can be have this job application form as a personal profile of the selected candidates. Okay, here's the sample job application form of a hospital. So in this at the top of the form, that the name and the address of the hospital should be printed, and in the job application, the post applied for there will be various posts. No, so we have to apply the first line itself. We are mentioning this post applied for, and the name, present address and permanent address, and father's name, and his occupation and citizenship, religion, sex, age, date of birth, and physical deformity and marital status, whether they are single or married, divorced or separated or widower. Because if they're single, they will be shifting earlier. If a woman is there, they are single. If they not married, they will be working for the short duration of the time. So these things also they will be noted in this job application form. And hobbies, which shows their attitude, whether they are team player or not, like this way. The name and address of the relation of the notified in case of emergency if anyone is nearby, in this way. Then the educational details like in this way, and do know the typing, what are the extracurricular activities, and this should be. And finally, they will be certified. This here, the above statement made by me is uh, best of my knowledge. Like this way, two lines must be printed. Okay. And steps in selection. So first, there are many steps in the employee selection process. So first one is interview with the human resource department, and there will be a pre-employment test like written or oral or practical tests, and then the interview by department head will be carried out. And decision of the administrator to accept or reject will be taken by the administrator. Then medical examination has been carried out. Then check for the references, and after checking, once they are satisfied with the above all the process, they will be issuing the appointment order. In this, then coming for the interview. So interviewing is the main method of appraising the applicants in the suitability for the post. Interviews are often concluded to assess the suitability of the candidates. So the employment interview is divided into four parts. One is warm-up stage, drawing up stage, information stage, and forming an opinion stage. The candidate is asked about his education, job experience, and minimum salary acceptable, etc. at the time of applying. So phone interview. In these days, the human resource manager interview the outstation and out of country applicants on phone. The interviewer and interviewee do not meet face to face. Instead, they talk on the telephone and the interviews on the interview. The result of which determines whether the candidate can be able to meet the human resource manager or not. The main objectives of the interview are the for the employer to obtain all the information about the candidate to decide about his suitability for the post, whether he is suitable for the post or not is the main objective for conducting the interview. And to give the candidate a complete picture of the job as well as the organization. So once the first we are checking whether he is capable of the job or not. And second one is we are giving what's the role of the job to him and to determine the fairness of the to all candidates. Uh, while calling for the interview, the time and date must be for calling the interview. There will be interview letter must be provided to the hospital. So that interview letter must be containing the information like as uh, about the passport size photograph certificates should also be bring while coming for this interview. There are several points to be taken care of before the interview. So plan carefully before the interview. So inform the receptionist so that the candidates called for the interview are correctly directed to the place of the interview. Make sure that the waiting arrangements are satisfactory. Explain the process of selection to the candidate about the hospital. Ensure all the candidates feel to ease before and during interview. Have a plan of questions so that the assessment is comprehensive. During the interview, encourage the candidates to talk frankly. Privacy during the interview is essential. A written appraisal of the candidate should be made by the interviewer after the interview. So interviewing the function as the human resource manager. So the responsibility of the human resource manager for during the interview are to screen the application of the candidate, to give the information about and general nature of the work, hours of work, and pay scale, allowances, and starting the total salary, fringe benefits, leave policy, and brief information about the background of the hospital, and to discover any differences in the expectations of the hospital of the candidate. And concluding the interview, once the interview has secured a clear idea of the applicant's basic strengths and limitations, he should bring the interview to a close with a brief summary of what he has discussed and give indications to the applicant of the next step. At the end of the interview should fill up his evaluation for and recommendation sheet. Pre-employment tests will be carried out into four types. One is test of general ability, intelligence test, and test of specific abilities, that is aptitude test, and test of achievement like trait test, and personality test, that is tests of emotional stability, interest, and values, and triads, and etc. So these tests will be carried out. And finally, the interview by the department, the responsibility of the head are to review the job application form to check the relevant data and experience, to evaluate the professional ability of the candidate, to give a detailed picture of the job requirement to the applicant, to advise the human resource manager if he thinks the previous training or experience or both of the applicant justifies the higher starting salary. Decision of the administrator to accept or reject. In some hospitals, the selection committee consists of one person each from human resource department, head, supervisor of the concerned department, and representative of the head of the hospital. After reviewing all the candidates, the selection committee submit its recommendations for the approval of the head of the hospital, who is generally hiring and firing the authority. Different hospitals adopt different policies according to their own convenience for the selection of their employees. However, final approval of the selection or rejection of the candidates rests within the head of the institution. And medical examination of a potential employee is to help both the employee and the management. The selection of the right type of the employee who can give his best and most happy request of a through thorough knowledge of his physical capacities and handicaps. This necessitates a complete medical examination by a doctor who understands the job requirements. Therefore, no employee should be placed on the job unless he has been declared medically fit by a qualified medical officer. The purpose of medical examination is threefold. It is for the protection of the applicant himself to know whether the job will suit him or not from the medical point of view. It is for the protection of the other employees so that they are not at the risk of any communicable or the disease which prospective employee may have. It is for the protection of the employer as well as so that may have avoid the selecting medically unfit persons. Check the references. The references provided by the applicant should be cross-checked to find out his past performance to obtain the relevant information from his past employer and others who have knowledge of his professional ability. Reference forms are generally checked by the employees of the human resource department who have comparatively little knowledge about the applicant. The reference letter should be brief and quicker as little writing as possible by the person whom it's sent. So here's the reference letter and issue of appointment letter. And after once the interview is over, the training is given for the new candidate. Okay. We'll be continuing the training in the next video.